MOS Sun Xueling.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. To all members who have spoken on the bill, I'm grateful for your support of the bill and the queries raised. Many of us continue to place emphasis on ensuring an environment that supports families. We are united in this effort. Many members also recognize that it is a complex task to balance the many interests and considerations at hand when it comes to decisions on whether new policies should be introduced and if enhancements should be made to existing schemes. Some have alluded to the many factors at play, and I'm glad that they appreciate the balance the government must strike. We have to safeguard taxpayers' monies and allocate as fairly as we can, knowing that any policy decision made has an indelible impact across multiple stakeholders. Let me touch on the points raised in turn. Members such as Ms. Carrie Tan, Ms. Yeo Wan Ling, Ms. Nadia Ahmad Samdin, Mr. Louis Ng, Mr. Ip Hong Wing, and Mr. Desmond Chew have suggested that more could be done for single unwed parents. I respect their views, and I thank Member Louis Ng for sharing what I had said in Parliament before. Over the years, all government benefits that support the caregiving, growth, and development of children have been equalized. I had highlighted in my opening speech the suite of measures that all Singaporean children can access. These include subsidies in healthcare, education, childcare, and infant care, as well as the Medisave grant for newborns, MediShield Life coverage from birth, and the Foreign Domestic Worker Levy concession. In 2016, we further extended the Child Development Account, CDA, to children of single unwed parents, which includes the CDA First Step Grant and matched co-savings from the government. In 2017, we extended support to unwed mothers for maternity leave under the CDCA. For unwed fathers who are the main caregivers of their children, MSF also evaluates their requests for paternity leave on a case-by-case basis. Members have also raised that more benefits could be extended to single unwed parents. Single unwed parents who require further help can approach our social service officers and family service centres. For other benefits, such as the baby bonus cash gift and parenthood-related tax benefits, these continue to be targeted to encourage parenthood within marriage. We acknowledge members' concerns about single unwed parents, and we will do what we can to support them based on their needs. I also hope to assure members that together with other agencies, we regularly review how we can better support them. For single unwed parents who require further support, they can also look to the SPIN program, SPIN, which can help improve their access to information and resources. Ms. Carrie Tan shared that there was a need to look into better enforcement of child support payments so as to reiterate that accountability to a child is independent of marital status. The member will be happy to note that the duty of a parent to maintain his or her child is already provided for under the Women's Charter, regardless whether the child is legitimate or illegitimate. Unwed mothers are therefore already able to apply to the court for maintenance of a child from the father. Ms. Carrie Tan and Mr. Gan Tiam Poh also shared that some low-income parents may not be able to fully maximize the co-matching feature of the CDA. This feature first requires parents to deposit into the CDA to receive government co-matching, which may be challenging for some low-income parents who may not have the means to set aside enough to save into the CDA. In 2016, we introduced the CDA First Step Grant, which is a $3,000 deposit when the CDA is opened without parents having to save first. This is granted to all Singaporean children regardless of their parents' marital or income status. I am glad that some community partners have also stepped forward to help families save more into the CDA by making deposits into the accounts of children from low-income families. These contributions will qualify for government co-matching, and we encourage them to continue to do so. The government also provides ad hoc top-ups to the CDA. For example, as part of the household support package announced at budget this year, all Singaporean children aged 6 and under in 2021 will receive a $200 top-up to their CDA from September this year. The CDA remains open for 12 years. Therefore, parents have a substantial amount of time to deposit money into the CDA to maximize the co-matching caps and should plan to do so at their own pace. Associate Professor James Lim has asked why there are no legislative provisions to clearly set out the interest rates that apply to the CDA. We welcome his wholehearted endorsement of the CPF and its very generous risk-free returns. The CDA's interest rates are determined by banks, but have generally been higher than a normal savings account. On top of this, despite the CDA being a bank account, the government provides co-matching. Monies in the CDA are intended to support the child's growth and development during their early years, in contrast to the CPF, which helps support Singaporeans in their retirement years. And parents are able to withdraw from the CDA as needed to defray educational and healthcare expenses at approved institutions as compared to the CPF. There are dedicated schemes that low-income families can turn to if they need social assistance, and such families can approach our social service officers, which stand ready to render help. Our SSOs will assess their household's needs and circumstances and provide assistance accordingly. For instance, families who require support with their basic living expenses can receive ComCare financial assistance if they meet the criteria, and SSOs may also refer families to other government agencies and community partners such as family service centres for further support. Mr. Gan Thiam Poh asked that we consider waiving the employment criterion for leave and benefit schemes in consideration of stay-at-home parents. For example, a cash grant could be given to a stay-at-home parent. The leave and benefit schemes are meant to support working parents in managing their work and caregiving responsibilities without having to leave the workforce. Nonetheless, we value the contributions of stay-at-home parents as they too play a fundamental role in nurturing the next generation of Singaporeans. As such, we have put in place other support schemes that Singaporean children and their families can receive regardless of their parents' working status, including the Baby Bonus Scheme, the Medisave Grant for newborns, and the Foreign Domestic Worker Levy concession. One of the government's key priorities is to ensure that parents have access to quality and affordable preschools for their children. To this end, we have significantly increased the number of full-day places from about 120,000 in 2015 to around 190,000 today, an increase of over 50%. To answer Mr. Ip Hong Wing's query, in spite of the COVID-19 situation, we are on track to grow the number of full-day places to over 200,000 by 2023. Mr. Ip Hong Wing also asked about the accessibility of preschool places for parents who have switched to hybrid or remote working. Today, almost 70% of all childcare centres and over 95% of anchor-operated childcare centres are located in residential estates, as families have generally expressed a preference for childcare service close to their homes. Going forward, we will continue to build more preschool places in tandem with upcoming HDB developments where there are more new families. ACDA closely monitors local preschool enrolment and availability and regularly reviews its plans. Should local demand shift and exceed early expectations, ACDA would work with preschools and HDB to look into activating more void deck and communal spaces for centre extensions where available. Members such as Ms. Carrie Tan, Mr. Saktiandi Supat, Ms. Nadia Ahmad Samdin, and Mr. Ip Hong Wing have asked for clarity on the application process and how claims and payouts under the government-paid leave schemes and benefits are accessed. In particular, Ms. Carrie Tan and Mr. Saktiandi Supat have asked how self-employed persons' leave claims are assessed. Let me first address Mr. Saktiandi Supat's query on how we define self-employed persons, which relates to how we assess their claims. Broadly, a self-employed man or woman is a resident of Singapore who engages in or carries on any trade, business, profession, or vocation other than employment under a contract of service and derives income from such trade, business, profession, or vocation. Freelancers and gig workers fall within this definition, as do delivery drivers. To be clear, self-employed persons can qualify for payment under either the leave or benefits scheme. Their employment arrangement is the one that will determine which scheme they qualify under. To Ms. Carrie Tan's queries on how self-employed parents' leave claims are assessed and Mr. Ip Hong Wing's query on whether the application and approval processes are automated, let me illustrate with an example. Self-employed mothers can submit maternity leave claims at MSF's Pro-Family Leave website. They have to provide basic information such as their personal particulars and their child's, as well as their occupation and period of inactivity from work. To avoid overburdening applicants, we require only critical information to enable assessment. In most cases, they do not need to submit documents at this point of application, but are required to declare that the information provided is accurate. We have automated the process as much as possible. We will verify against available data in the government database that the eligibility criteria are met. For example, that the applicant's child is a Singapore citizen. If eligible, the applicant will be entitled to payment from the government for the government-paid portion of leave based on one's lost income as kept by the limits set out in legislation. In determining the amount, we will look at the relevant notice of assessment, which is prescribed in the subsidiary legislation. For self-employed parents without a notice of assessment, I can assure members that MSF will consider other documents which can serve as proof of income to facilitate our assessment. These could include bank statements, contracts for services, or invoices. Ms. Nadia Ahmad Samdin asked about the application process for the new government-paid paternity benefit, GPPB, and government-paid adoption benefit, GPAB schemes. Mr. Satyandi Supat also asked about the application process for parents who have been retrenched but have unconsumed leave and want to apply for a benefits top-up. Generally, the application process is similar to an application under the existing government-paid maternity benefit scheme, which is done at MSF's Pro-Family Leave website. Parents will need to submit all their employment contracts for the period of 12 months immediately preceding their child's date of birth or eligibility date for an adopted child, and their payslips for the employment or the latest notice of assessment. They will also need to submit the retrenchment letter. The amount that a parent receives will be derived from the average income earned over the 12 months preceding the child's date of birth or eligibility date for an adopted child. For parents who require more details and fellow members who meet residents with these queries, I encourage you to visit the Pro-Family Leave website, which has information on the eligibility criteria, application procedures, and payment for the various schemes. MSF is also happy to render assistance to parents who require help in navigating the process. Mr. Gantiampo raised a good point that we do not want self-employed persons to be left out. I hope that my explanation will reassure working parents who are self-employed that they too should apply for the leave and benefits scheme. To Mr. Gantiampo's point that the amounts reimbursed to employers or paid out in the form of benefits may vary from person to person, this is correct. For employees on the leave schemes, they will continue to receive their salaries for the duration of their leave, and for the government-paid portion, this would be subject to the reimbursement caps. For those who do not qualify for leave but are eligible for the benefits schemes, they will receive a payout from the government equivalent to the government-paid portion of leave, prorated based on their economic activity in the 12 months preceding the child's date of birth or the eligibility date for an adopted child. The more a parent has worked in the 12 months before the birth of the child or eligibility date for an adopted child, the more benefits he or she will be eligible for. Our leave and benefit schemes are intended to support bona fide working parents, and therefore the support granted will differ based on the parent's employment arrangement and economic activity. Mr. Gantiampo has also requested for additional data on the various schemes. While having more data points will bolster our understanding of family needs, as a general principle, MSF does not require information for claims and applications above and beyond what is necessary to determine eligibility and entitlement. This avoids burdening employers and working parents excessively. For instance, household income is not needed to determine the quantum of baby bonus benefits, as the scheme does not vary with income. Likewise, we also do not require parents to submit information about the number of children they have when processing claims for leave and benefit schemes that do not vary with the birth order. Parents also need not submit information on other grants that they have received. In this regard, we seek the members' understanding that we must balance the need for policy review with making our claim and application processes citizen-centric and efficient. Mr. Satyandi Supat requested for the GPPB and GPAB application date of 1st December 2021 to be brought forward. I seek the members' understanding that we require time to make the necessary amendments to subsidiary legislation and to also enhance the IT system to support the schemes. Ms. Yeo Wan Ling has suggested a review of current schemes to better reflect the principle of shared parental duties, such as through the extension of Working Mothers' Child Relief and Grandparent Caregiver Relief, GCR, to fathers. These schemes aim to encourage married women to continue working after childbirth rather than provide general assistance to families. Families can benefit from other parenthood-related tax benefits such as qualifying child relief, QCR, and parenthood tax rebate, PTR. She also suggested that exclusive, non-transferable parental leave be equalized between mothers and fathers. Ms. Nadia Ahmad Samdin stated that more exclusive paternity leave would be a strong signal so that couples do not have to make tough decisions. Mr. Louis Ng has also asked for a phased increase of paternity leave. We know that children benefit from having involved fathers who are committed to their growth and development. Today, fathers can already benefit from a series of leave enhancements made over the years. Most recently, in 2017, we made the second week of paternity leave mandatory, and shared parental leave was extended from 1 to 4 weeks. In total, fathers may take up to 8 weeks of leave in the child's first year, which they can use to spend time with both mother and child. Active fatherhood is on the rise. Over the years, paternity leave take-up has increased markedly. In 2013, only 25% of fathers took up paternity leave. In 2019, the proportion has increased to a healthy 55%. The introduction of GPPB is also a recognition of the government's support for fathers who may be in less conventional working arrangements. Despite these improvements, there is still some way to go. I encourage more fathers to take their leave, but in order for fathers to do so, mindsets will have to shift, and this can only happen over time. One key contributor is whether fathers feel supported in the workplace. And I encourage employers to implement more family-friendly practices like flexible working arrangements. I assure Mr. Louis Ng that MSF is often in close consultation with our community partners such as the Families for Life or the Centre for Fathering, which drives the Dads for Life movement to encourage active fathering. MSF takes the building of strong marriages and families seriously. We will continue to push through this effort with our partners. Mr. Louis Ng and Mr. Ip Hong Wing have asked for leave to be extended to couples who suffer miscarriages as they will need to recover. Mr. Louis Ng in particular suggested that the government could extend partial reimbursement to employers who provide leave benefits to couples who have a miscarriage. I understand the members' concern, as miscarriages are unfortunate events. Today, working mothers who need to recuperate after a miscarriage are given medical leave. These working mothers can also use their annual leave, and some companies may also offer compassionate leave. The bill takes reference from the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, RBDA, in defining a stillbirth as one occurring after the 28th week of pregnancy. As the member is aware, the new RBDA was recently passed in Parliament. A stillborn child is now defined to mean a child delivered after the 22nd week of pregnancy. When the new RBDA comes into effect, the CDCA will also take on this interpretation. Parents will become eligible for birth-linked leave and benefits if their child is stillborn after the 22nd week of pregnancy. I agree with Mr. Satyandi Supat and Mr. Ip Hong Wing that families require further support as they recover physically and emotionally from the loss of a child, whether through a stillbirth or a miscarriage. We encourage families in need to seek help. Families may also approach family service centres for support on socio-emotional issues. Associate Professor James Lim has asked whether shared parental leave could be extended to fathers who have also experienced a stillbirth. I thank the member for sharing his stories, and my heart goes out to him and his family. I would like to clarify that shared parental leave will be extended to these fathers if their wives have elected to share the leave. They will also be entitled to paternity leave and GPPB. To the member's query as to whether an adoptive father qualifies for leave and benefits, currently paternity leave applies to both biological and adoptive fathers. Adoptive fathers will also qualify for the new GPPB scheme. Associate Professor James Lim also suggested that more leave could be extended to parents who have stillbirths above and beyond the current maternity leave provisions. Some companies may also offer compassionate leave over and beyond these entitlements. Ms. Joan Pereira has also called for additional leave for parents with multiple births as they may face increased caregiving responsibilities. Ms. Yeo Wan Ling asked that we consider giving parents a full flexibility to share parental leave. While more leave that could be flexibly used could be useful, Ms. Nadia Ahmad Samdin has rightly pointed out that there are associated costs in implementing family-friendly practices, and a practical approach must be taken, and we have to be mindful that we do not inadvertently affect parents' employability if they are absent from work for an extended period of time. Employers face manpower and operational demands, and these must be calibrated alongside the need to support working parents. But I'd like to reassure members that I know where they are coming from, and I do know that they want to support parents as much as they can. Any increase in leave provisions, however, will have to be considered carefully, especially in periods of business uncertainty. I agree with Ms. Joan Pereira that flexibility and mutual understanding between employer and employee are key. Flexible workplace arrangements, FWAs, which contribute to a family-friendly work environment are more sustainable and can be tailored to a parent's own needs. Mr. Satyandi Supat suggested that more could be done to reward companies that are pro-family. Today, the tripartite standards on FWAs, on work-life harmony, and on unpaid leave for unexpected care needs recognize progressive companies that support their employees, including those with caregiving responsibilities, to manage both their work and personal needs. Employers who adopt these standards can use the TS logo, the tripartite standards logo, to distinguish themselves as employers of choice. COVID-19 has also helped create momentum for the use of FWAs as companies realize that FWAs could be implemented effectively and efficiently as we transition into the new normal. We encourage more employers to come on board, and the government will work with tripartite partners to look into other ways to have FWAs become a norm at workplaces. As to the members' suggestion on introducing grants or funding schemes to employers who have demonstrated their commitment to fostering family-friendly workplaces in Singapore, we thank you for your suggestion, and we will review this further. Mr. Louis Ng has also asked if a public consultation was done for this bill, and to share the reasons why it was not done, given that many could have given constructive feedback to refine the bill. I would like to share that there was no public consultation with respect to the bill specifically, and there are two reasons for this. First, the process of consultation is not a one-off event. Many members today have given their feedback on the various schemes under the purview of the CDCA over the years, both formally and informally. We have also debated vigorously on the merits of various support schemes that families can access. In addition, we have regular touchpoints with parents and employers through our community partners and tripartite partners. I assure the member that we have always adopted a listening posture and are receptive to feedback. The bill is therefore a culmination of many feedback cycles instead of a single consultation. Second, most will benefit from this round of amendments. This is the result of the government stepping up to provide additional support that accrues directly to parents and employers. Mr. Ip Hong Wing raised a question that is close to my heart. How do we measure the success of our efforts to create a Singapore that is made for families? Statistics like the take-up rate of various leave schemes, though useful, provide a limited understanding of the daily lives of families and their needs. I can assure the member that this question preoccupies our minds, and MSF, together with the National Population and Talent Division, NPTD, will strive to continue to keep our ear to the ground. Members may be aware that as part of the Emerging Stronger conversations, Minister Indrani Raja and myself have been leading a series of conversations since April with individuals to better understand their experiences and thoughts on getting married and raising families. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the current amendments to the Child Development Co-Savings Act are but one step in our endeavour to support marriage and parenthood in Singapore. This is an iterative process, and I'm heartened by the many views shared by my colleagues. And there are also other ongoing reviews related to the conversations on Singapore women's development that the government is leading, and I look forward to sharing more in due course. I thank members for their various suggestions and inputs. The schemes under the CDCA, be it the various leave and benefits scheme or the CDA, are essential in supporting working parents. However, they do not and should not function in isolation. A tapestry of measures and policies must be woven to ensure that families in Singapore are well supported in their children's growth and development. And this will only be possible with the help of our immediate and extended families, employers, and community partners. MSF will continue to do our best to ensure that our policies build a better future for Singapore, anchored by strong families. With that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I beg to move.
Mr. Lewis Ng, you have a clarification.
Thank you, sir. I think Emma's shared that we can't give the cash component of the baby bonus to single unweds because it's part of the marriage and parenthood package, the keyword being marriage. But I just want to point out the CDA component of the baby bonus is also part of the marriage and parenthood package, but we do give it to the single unwed parents. So why can't we just extend the other portion of the baby bonus to the single unweds? Again, I want to stress, we need to remember our own data shows that single unwed parents under 35 have a median salary of $600. $600 for someone carrying a newborn around. And I think this cash that many of us are pushing for is not a luxury for them. It really is a lifeline, and I hope MSF will reconsider this policy. Thank you.
I thank the member for his clarification. As I mentioned, there have been several reviews on our parenthood programs and packages. The CDA that he mentioned earlier was revised in 2016 to also take into account single unwed parents. As I mentioned, there are certain government policies that encourage parenthood within marriage. The baby bonus gift, cash gift, is one such benefit. But again, I would like to remind our members that I have listed out a whole series of benefits that have been equalized for children of both unweds as well as wedded parents. So I hope that we can look at this holistically. But again, as I said, we constantly review our marriage and parenthood packages, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
Associate Professor James Lim, you have a clarification.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you, MOS Sun, for the response that she had. I wish to clarify I hope that she would be able to clarify in her explanation about CPF and CDA having different objectives, which she explained at length. And to be clear, I absolutely do not contest. It still remains unanswered why one qualifies for legislative protection of returns, but the other does not. And I guess since we are doing clarifications, I should clarify myself that my reference to legislative protections for returns to CPF should not be construed as a ringing endorsement of the scheme. Thank you.
I thank the member for his clarification. As I shared in my reply earlier, the CDA's interest rates are determined by banks. That's number one. And number two, as different from CPF, the CDA account, parents can actually withdraw as and when they need it to defray expenses that they need for the upbringing of their children. So it is more short-term in nature because they can go and take from the bank account, the CDA bank account, to defray those expenses. This is different from the CPF, which is locked in for a longer period of time. Thank you.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Child Development Co-Savings Amendment Bill.
Committee stage what day?
Now, sir, I beg to move that Parliament will immediately resolve itself into a committee on the bill.
The question is that Parliament will immediately resolve itself into a committee on the bill. As many of the opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is that clauses 1 to 39 stand part of the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Bill to be reported. Minister for Social and Family Development.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to report that the bill has been considered in committee and agreed to without amendment.
Third reading what day?
Now, sir, I beg to move that the bill be now read a third time.
The question is that the bill be now read a third time. As many as are of the opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Child Development Co-Savings Amendment Bill.